Having an exceptional relationship with your spouse affects every single aspect of your life and is crucial for experiencing your dream life together. I'm Rob Murgatroyd.
And I'm Kim Murgatroyd. Listen in on our honest, filter-free conversations as we navigate life and business together without killing each other.
You'll learn by osmosis how to transform the friction you feel in your relationship into a purposeful foundation that will allow you to grow together.
Welcome to the Friday Podcast.
Kimberly Parachute Pants Murgatroyd, how are you this morning? I'm talking a little bit fast. I got a lot going on today. It's a very busy day around this time of year. Christmas. How do those auctioneers do it?
How many cups of coffee have you had? How many espressi have you had today? Quanti espressi?
Is it espresso?
I think so.
I don't think so because
it's cappuccini, so...
I don't know if it's cappuccini because I've asked for due cappuccini and I don't think they say cappuccini. I think that is a mistake.
All right, but how many do you have? Tell the truth. Since you woke up, how many?
A lot.
It's a lot. So Parachute Pants Murgatroyd, that's what we're going to start calling Rob now. He walked out today and what I can only describe, my daughter, the little one actually described it best. She described it as she asked her dad if he was going to jump out of a plane with his parachute pants, which I thought was amazing. But I don't, it's like a cross between a military pant, a slack, a pleated, horrible pant, and an MC Hammer pants. And I can't. But
you're reminding me, by the way, how difficult language is. You have been referring to pants and pant in three different, and it's recorded, so you can go back and check.
I believe you.
In multiple different ways. So you're obviously wearing a pair of pants, but you said, oh, he came out in a parachute pant. So I
think that's the style. I don't know.
What is the difference between pants and pants?
Listen, you're deflecting the attention off of the horrible pants you had on today. And so here's what I'm going to say.
We are Devo.
Do you remember that Friday date we did about like letting your spouse be your spouse?
Yeah, you're not going to allow that.
No, I am. You can completely do it. I actually gave you like a high five today for allowing yourself to take such severe fashion risks, in my opinion. I said, look, there's going to be someone that is going to think you nailed it.
Yeah.
This is not me.
We call this a sideways compliment.
This is not me. Anyway, I digress. We're going to talk about how you handle having big differences in opinion. And we have a big difference in opinion on your pants.
All right. So
see how I segued that?
So
that was like a magician.
That was good. So for those of you that are in a relationship, and frankly, this could even be we have some people who work with their brother or sister, those kinds of things too. Whenever you're a human being and you're in a relationship with somebody, it is not incredibly often at scale where you're going to be regularly in 100% agreement with
everything.
Okay, so let's take it from that broad context and let's narrow it down. So if I were to create a sales page for, let's use a great example. We've got a new vision board course that we've recently launched, right? And so we're doing some marketing around said course. So I've got a vision for what I think a good 1-minute video would be around it. And Kim is going to have a completely different vision. Let me say this. If you are in a situation where you have taken it upon yourself, and I've done this and Kim's done this, to craft something, right? Maybe it's a video that you've made and you've taken 3 hours with. Maybe it is a sales page. Maybe it is decorating a room in your house. Whatever it is, where you have put the time in. And then you go to the other person to say, what do you think? Okay?
I feel like he has an axe to grind on this one.
Well, it's done. We've done this both ways.
Yeah.
So, I could recall Central Park and Fall. I can recall making back in the day a Jet Set Life video where I've spent literally 6 hours a day for 3 days in a row. And then for the final Cannes Film Festival unveiling, I go, here it is. What do you think? And she goes, okay, it's good. And I'm like,
try again.
Can you take that part where you're walking through the Medina in Marrakesh and just cut it and then put it before the part where you're tiptoeing through the tulips in the park? Now, to craft that video, every single beat, and when I tell you beat, I mean we've taken a song, we've matched the footsteps of me walking to the beats of the song from this cut to that cut. And anybody who's crafted something similar to this understands that there's a rhythm, quite literally, to the music and the video.
Well, it's the same like if you edit a TikTok video or something like that now. You're doing the same thing.
Same thing, right?
Yeah.
So
I'd come in and blow it up.
So I think there's two ways to look at this. If you are going to do the project yourself and then ask for advice on what the person thinks, you have to be willing to almost scrap the project if you're going to listen to the advice. And if you're not going to do that, then I think you should say to the person, okay, I know this isn't perfect, and I've been working on it for the last 3 days. I'm showing it to you. I don't want you to give me any advice on how to make it better.
No, you
but I'm
do
not going to change it.
You do what Sophia does to me. So I have part of we've talked in the past about like Strength Finder and knowing what your strengths are and your weaknesses and learning about that with your partner, about what each other's are. So you can identify and kind of get a feel for where they're coming from, because we tend to look at the world only through what we do. So Rob knows that I'm a strategy person. I am a problem solver. So if you come to me with a problem and you just want to vent, I'm not your girl. Or you need to preface it with, I don't want your help solving this. I just need to vent. Because my natural strength is to problem solve. It actually hurts me to not problem solve. It makes me so uncomfortable to listen to a problem and not help with a solution. Not that I have the answer to everything, but I have like strategies to talk about it, or at least it hurts me. But if you tell me in advance, I don't want you to solve this, then I will shut my mouth. And so now Sophia comes to me and she'll say, Mommy, I want to tell you something, but I don't want your comment.
Sophia's our 8-year-old daughter.
Sorry. Yeah, the 8-year-old. She naturally learned this about me. And she said, there are times where she tells me about a problem. I say, do you want my help or do you just want me to listen? I had to learn to do that with my best friend because my best friend wants to vent a lot and I want to solve all of her problems. And so now the little one comes and says, I want to share something with you, but I don't want your comment. So basically that's what you're telling them to do. I think here's my 2 cents on this, that I think this can help so much. So the other day I created an email, and in the email, it was about the vision board course and it was leading to another page or whatever. I took it upon myself to do it. I brought it to Rob and I said, I want to show you what I did. I was not saying, can I get your feedback? Because it was done. It was done. It was live. It was literally published. I wasn't asking for feedback. I was saying, this is on my list. We decided together that this was on my list of things to do. And I did it. And I'm not asking for your feedback. So we need to either agree in advance, everything is a collaboration, which for me does not work, because then I feel like I'm going to put in a bunch of work and then I'm going to come back and you're going to tell me it's wrong. And in that case, I'm going to say, do it your fucking self, because that's frustrating. So we need to agree in advance, this is a collaboration, or you're going to let me take the creative lead. But we can't do both. We can't have it both ways. You will write a post and post it, and then you'll come to me and go, tell me what you think about this post, which to me means you want feedback. So the other day he wrote this whole post and I was like, this is amazing, but I feel like it dropped off at the end there. Can you edit that and just add a little bit to like wrap it in a bow? And he said, sure. And so he went back in and edited it. But you asked me for my feedback.
All right, so let's get this granular. So you take it upon yourself. You decide, I want to create this video, and I am going to write this email, and I'm going to send it out. And you show it to me. I have to have a reaction. I can't sit there like Marcel Marceau and mime.
Yeah.
I have to say something.
Yeah.
So you are married to me a long time.
I am.
You know every wrinkle I have in my face and what every eyebrow raise, or you know every word I say. You know every word I don't say. You know when I say this, I really mean that. When I don't say this, I'm actually saying that. You understand all of that. So I am dead in the water and dead on arrival.
Yeah,
okay?
DOA.
There is nothing that I can do to not have a visible, visceral reaction to it. So are you suggesting that there's a performance that happens playing the role of supporting spouse and go, amazing, that is incredible? Or are you suggesting no response at all? What are you suggesting if you're not looking for a comment after one views the product?
You can give me the comment. Like, okay, so you came in and you were like, yeah, I hate that picture and I hate this and I wouldn't do that. And I was like, yeah, this was my vision for it. And by the way, I did change the picture on that for you, but I didn't change anything else because it was done, it was over, and I had put that to bed. So you can give me the feedback, but I may or may not take your opinion versus a collaboration like, yeah, that video cannot go out like that. Do you know what I mean?
Judge, permission to treat the witness as hostile.
Go ahead.
I'm playing the judge now. Ma'am, answer the question. Restate the question, counselor.
Well,
Madam, please let counsel.
Oh, you're playing two roles?
I'm the judge and the prosecutor.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm the judge right now.
Could you change your voice when you do that? So I know.
Yeah, I'll be a female judge.
Okay, I can't wait.
Can you?
Yeah,
I have too much testosterone in my voice.
Okay.
I can't do it.
Go for it.
Can you I can't do it.
It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
So here's the question. What specifically, after you've created something, what specifically would you like me to say? Would you like me to give an opinion, not give an opinion, or just blindly answer, that was fantastic?
In this particular case.
In any case.
No, but I'm going to give you this particular one because it just happened. So I wrote this whole email series and showed it to you, showed it that I created the opt-in, the email series, and all of the things. So the first thing would be, great job. You got that done off your list. The second thing would be, has this published? Do you want feedback? And
I can just see your face as I'm doing this. This is bad advice. You're giving me horrible advice.
I'm not. I'm giving you the actual advice. And I will say to you, and it's what I said. Yeah, I see this as completed, but if there's something you think needs to be changed, tell me. And you're like, well, I don't like the picture. And I'm like, well, let me explain the reasoning behind the picture. And I ended up changing the picture anyway. So I wasn't mad at you in any way. That interaction didn't bother me because you gave me your feedback. I was open to your feedback, but what you need to understand is you could give me your feedback and I'd go, yeah, it's done. It's published and it's done. Just like there are times, see, you and I differ on one thing. You love to tell me how long something took you. You have an obsession with the fucking time. You do. You will be like, you just did it. I worked 6 hours for 3 days. Like, well, then if you wanted my opinion, you should have asked me after the second hour. Like,
can you play that tape back? I don't think I said that.
Absolutely. Okay. Editors.
We need a fact checker.
We have them. It is called a podcast team. Editors, go back and replay what Rob said, because he said, I worked 6 hours a day for 3 days. And then I did the Cannes Film Festival to show her.
I can recall making back in the day a Jet Set Life video where I've spent literally 6 hours a day for 3 days in a row. I get the greatest idea in the world. Okay. So now I'm going to get you off course here a second, but I'm going to take a hat tip to Dex Shepard. What he and Monica, his co-host, what they do at the end of every episode, because they usually do like a 2-hour show and they usually have a big guest or whatever. And at the end, they have a guy that is in the room that does a fact check based on what they said that they said, and what the guest said. And that usually is like another half-hour show at the end, and they bring in the fact check.
That's
and
funny.
They're all blown away. They're like, I can't believe I said that.
I know.
It's really good. But
Well,
anyway,
you did say it,
what
but
we can-
you're
what we can
obsessed
do
with
is-
time. I can't come back and do another 30 minutes with the fact checker.
I feel very steamrolled right now.
You're being steamrolled.
I feel very steamrolled. And these are,
By the way, we're talking about creative differences. This is literally one playing out right here.
You know I have insecurities, right?
Oh my God, that was the best. I think we were in Capri, and we were Capri.
We say Capri.
Sorry.
You've been in Italy 2 years. Can you say Capri?
Capri. And we were out at dinner in a super romantic, quiet restaurant. And the guy behind us and the girl, they're just fighting all night. And he looks at her, he goes, I have insecurities. And it was just the way he said it that Rob and I...
It was the emphasis on the T's.
It was the T's. And we had been literally listening to them argue the entire night. And that one and he's like, I have insecurities. And he got up and left. And it was just the funniest thing to us. It probably wasn't funny for them. And they are definitely not together anymore. Back to your
Not a
issue with
chance.
time. You love to tell me how long it took you.
This is not a podcast about my issue with
No,
time. We're
no,
trying
no.
to help people
I know.
solve a problem. You're not helping people solve a problem
am.
by rehashing to everybody the issues that I have and my insecurities.
No. So when I come in and you're like, hey, I wrote this thing or made this video, and what do you think? Do you have feedback? And I'll give it to you. And then you're like, it took me 6 hours. And I'm like, did you want the feedback or did you not?
You've mentioned the time thing.
Okay,
now,
so
Madam. Judge, can you ask her to
God.
move on, please?
I'm trying to move on. So here's my feedback on the feedback. I think number one, you need to know, you and I, if we sit down and we divide out tasks and you're going to make these things and I'm going to make these things, and then we're going to bring each other back in for a final edit, then it needs to be a final edit. It can't be a complete scrapping, because there are times where I've written he gave me the job to write all the copy. And then he comes back in and he's like, yeah, this sucks. We got to do it over. And I'm like, well, then why did you have me do it? He's like, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have done that. That's right, because you're not in my brain. So I think you need to make a decision. And
I got it.
You and I have done this. I think what we're talking about with a lot of these instances was many, many years ago. I don't think we do it anymore.
This is what we do.
What?
This is what you do. You just said the word final edit, Final Cut Pro. This is what we're doing. I think we should have a rule. When somebody is viewing something, we should look at each other and go, is this Final Cut or is this supportive spouse? If it's supportive spouse, that means I'm fucking done with it. It's off my list. Just look at the damn thing and be over it.
Yeah.
If it's final edit or final cut, whichever word feels good to you, final edit, I think you probably like better. If it's final edit, then you give a final edit. It's either supportive spouse or final edit.
But there's a difference between a final edit but there's something that comes before that, because if you and I divide out tasks, whatever that task is, and you say, you go write the copy for the sales page, then you're entrusting me to write the copy for the sales page. So if you come in and you don't like my copy, I think the next rule should be that you in fact inherited the task of writing the copy. So if it's not an edit is like, I think that sentence should say this. If it's like, I'm scrapping the entire thing and starting over, then you get to do it, because what came out of my brain and my creativity is already on the paper.
Yeah.
And so if you're coming in and telling me this sucks and we need to start over, then I think rule number 2 is that so rule number 1 is this final edit or is this supportive spouse? What's my role? Okay. So number one is what's my role? Number two is if you say final edit, but your final edit is really a redo, then you inherit that task. Okay. So you have to think about this now. And you have to go, if I open my big mouth and tell her or tell him that I hate it and we need to start over, do I hate it enough to add it to my shit to do list?
It's good.
Okay. Because
so you're turning the gun on yourself.
Well, you have to, because the creativity that someone used to create whatever the task was is out and done. Like I can't just scrap it and start over. That's your job, right? The other thing is, if you take it on by yourself and this is an unannounced thing that represents both of you, then I do think you need to have some, like if I just decided that I was going to do this entire thing on my own, and then I showed it to you and I'm like, you have no final edit, but it represents you as well, I think that's not good. So I think there needs to be some definite, if you're working together, there needs to be some collaboration. There needs to be some dividing of tasks. And then there needs to be some respect around whether it's editing or starting over, who gets round two.
I think that's really good. And actually, if I think about I love the pre-framing. The pre-framing is really important.
Pre-frame always helps.
Pre-frame sets expectations. I think that's good.
And by the way, this is where, if you go back to Strength Finder, is so important. And we did an episode on Strength Finder. We've done a few.
I just did a Strength Finder with a private coaching client, and it was amazing because what we found. Sorry that I don't want to hijack.
No, it's okay.
We're working on a next chapter for her, what she wants to do. And what we found was that within her top 3, I think number 2 for her was a harmonizer. Yeah. And a harmonizer is like, where people don't want to rock the boat. And I was explaining to her, I said, my wife's harmony is like 35. Okay.
It's the last on my list.
She does not. I looked at her, I said, she does not give a fuck about harmony. She almost spit her coffee out. She was laughing. I said, me and you, we want everything to be harmonious. We don't want anybody to get upset. We don't want anybody's feelings to be hurt. My wife is like, fuck you and your broom that you flew in on. I could give a shit.
But here's the thing though. So this is why it's so important in the aspect of pre-framing. And by the way, if you don't work with your spouse in a business, you work with your spouse in the business of your home and your life and your marriage. So all of these things apply in the same way. Maybe you're arguing over a sofa or whatever. Like these things all apply. Pre-framing something is so important. And what's more important with pre-framing is understanding your spouse. And that's where Strength Finder comes in. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Gallup Strength Finder. Take the test, have your spouse take the test, and then spend some time going over each other's strengths. And what's great about it is that something that you see as a strength, like I'm going to use myself. So strategy, like I said, is one of my top strengths. I love strategic thinking. I'm all about solving a problem. The downside, the blind spot, as they refer to it, of that strategy is that I want a strategy all over everybody. Or ideation is another top strength of mine. I love ideas, but sometimes someone just wants to tell me something that's their idea and they don't want me to have an opinion necessarily or start, like they didn't ask me to brainstorm. It's like someone comes in, they're like, hey, I have this great idea. And then I'm like, oh my God, we could do this and make it better. Like they didn't ask for that. Right. So I can ideate all over somebody and inappropriately. So that's the blind spot of that. And so if you know these things about your partner, the way things are pre-framed are really important. Like there would be no reason for me to come to Rob and to say, I don't want your help with this. I just want you to listen, because it's not his nature to jump all over it and want to problem solve it, unless I'm crying and then he wants to solve it. But he doesn't have that problem. He has open loop syndrome. This is not a Strength Finder thing, but Rob doesn't like an open loop. So if I say I'm going to call the plumber and he's going to check 8 million times until I've called the plumber's here. He's like, he won't sleep tonight if something in the loop of the plumber has not been handled. And I know that about him. So I can come in and I go, this is not fully cooked. This is not, whatever. And so we know each other's strengths and weaknesses. So the way we pre-frame it is specifically to tone down whatever it is about the other person that we know they're going to jump all over. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Okay, before we go...
So what was the end result of this?
The end result is that you pre-frame what you're doing before you let the other person know what their role is in evaluating what you've just crafted.
And also, okay, so let's give one that's not work. Let's say I redecorated your office or the living room. And I would say, hey, Rob, I just redecorated the living room. I want you to know I can change anything you don't like. Or, that's the pre-frame, or I want you to know I cannot return any of this.
It's a good way to put it.
So that's
a great way to put it.
So there's a pre-frame in there.
You're going to have to wear those parachute pants.
You're going to have, if I could only find the store they came from. No, did I say that out loud? Was that my outside voice that said that?
By the way, okay, Smarty Pants. You notice what I did there?
See?
Walking down the street.
Smarty parachute pants.
Okay. Walking down the street, you and your judgment about my MC Hammer pants, okay? Mm-hmm. What did we see in the window of a fashion store on the street in Florence next to the Duomo? What was sitting right behind the glass on the mannequin that I pointed to you? I'll answer it for you. My exact pants that you have been
poo-pooing the whole time?
All over it.
All right. Those pants were in the window, but just because something is in a window doesn't mean it's good. I can give you 400 other examples of that one. Just because it's on TikTok doesn't make it true. Doesn't make it true. So here's what we learned. Pre-frame. Uh-huh. What is your role? Is this a collaboration? By the way, if something's going to take you 6 hours a day, 3 days, and you wait till the 18th hour, literally, to ask the other person's opinion, not a good idea. So if this is a collaboration, ask early on, ask as you're doing it. Do you like this paragraph? Do you like the tone of this email series? Do you like the photos I've chose? That's a collaboration. If it's not a collaboration and it's here is your task, you're assigned to do it, just get it done, then you can decide if there's final edit involved. And if final edit includes a redo, then the task shifts to the other person. That's what I say.
All right. So I'm going to switch gears on you for a second. We are about to record an on-the-fly episode, and we're going to be talking about a dream budget. And actually what we're going to be doing is preparing. We're going to be talking a little bit about it in the episode, but we're also going to be doing with our group a dream budget
workshop.
And if you have not heard how we do the dream budget, you should be a part of our On the Fly podcast. There's a link that's going to be in the show notes where you can go check it out. But the reason why I'm taking the time to do this is one of the things that has made a huge emotional change for me in terms of how much I want to budget for my life. This is a good time of year to do that. So if you're not a member anyway, and if you're not a member, I would strongly recommend that you become one.
You becoming a member of our premium community on Patreon. So we have a premium community on Patreon where we have 2 different levels. One, you just get our additional podcast On the Fly, where we talk about more in-depth topics, sometimes some a little salacious topics, things that we wouldn't necessarily want on public broadcast, so to speak. And the other one is our ultimate group. And in our ultimate group, they get access to us. They get a monthly Zoom with us. We just finished a 3-month vision board series where everybody not only figured out what they want, but crafted a written vision, a visual representation on the vision board. And now we're taking that one step further and we're going into the Dream Life budget to help them reverse engineer that. And so we can really help accelerate this process of achieving their vision. So if you want to be part of that ultimate group, head over to our Patreon and that link will be in the show notes.
All right, that's it, everybody. Have a great week and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Come grow together with us. Rate and review this podcast. This is one small way to show us some love and tell us that you value these conversations.
Leaving a 5-star review and written comment helps get this show into the ears of other couples just like you.